Edward here from earviewer.com. I have another video for you. This is my continued exploration into these areas of interest of areas that Ingo termed basic imaging and shape-form recognition. I'm interested in the nature of these inputs as we acquire them, and what is their nature? Are they some type of quantum image of some kind? Are they just conceptual, where they're pieced together like some kind of binary code that we then mentally process them into angles and buildings or man-made things or water or whatever? I'm not 100% sure. We don't know. These are unknowns. No one knows. We're trying to figure this out and understand it. I want to experience them and then look back on the experience to try to understand it myself and capture it on video. That's what all these videos are about. So I'm interested in this idea of basic image, or what I like to call quantum image, meaning that in this second reality, as Ingo Swann calls it, or this quantum reality, this quantum world that is taking place below the threshold of our awareness, as we select these inputs, are they coming through as some type of quantum image, a complete form like that, within some type of holographic spectrum? I'm beginning to really think that that is the case. We don't know. We have no way of knowing for sure. We only have theories and concepts and ideas and some experiences to go by. But in my explorations, I'm really leaning toward that as being the case. Now that brings us to, in the remote viewing training world, is a real danger zone, because in remote viewing training, if an image comes into your mind, you're trained to consider that as analytical overlay, or AOL, and you're trained to get rid of that image as soon as possible. And the reason is that the majority of the time that those images are memory comparison. There's some other mental processing realm. They're defaulted typically in this type of training as imagination, even though imagination is only one of many mental processing realms where these inputs are moving through. But for some reason, it's limited down to just considering them as imagination. It's unfortunate the way that remote viewing is taught like that. It's very unfortunate in my opinion. But that's only one of the mental processing realms. Now, if an image pops into one's mind, is it possibly imagination? Sure. Is it memory comparison? Probably. But how do we know the difference between an unimpeded input, or a quantum image, or a full basic image, and memory comparison, or the other mental processing realm, random thought? How do we know the difference between those? We have to explore them. We can't just take someone else's point of view and say that's what it is and bottom line it like that. It must be explored so we know, we can tell the difference. Again, I am in moving into the belief that these do come through as some type of quantum image. That's what I'm exploring now. Shape-form recognition that Ingo talks about. When he talks about it, it's our mental processing realms. The ESP core takes these images, or basic images, or quantum images, or however we want to call them, and it begins to process them. And in the processing is where we get these basic sketches and the things that come through in our representations, or in our remote viewing sessions, as our interpretations of these points in time and space, or these targets. That's what I'm exploring. It's fascinating to me of how, not only how these inputs are processed in the mental processing realms, and why we even have them. I don't fully understand why we even have them, why we can't just access these quantum images in their complete form all the time, and why it's only in very rare occasions do we get these full, or what Ingo would call high stage events, ESP events, where a complete image comes through that is completely accurate. Why don't we have that all the time? Why do we have these mental processing realms that chop all this information up and sometimes just process them into oblivion, and they never even make it even close to the subliminal barrier? These are my questions. These are my explorations. This is my work, my life's work with remote viewing, is to explore these realms and try to find some answers to these questions for myself. And that's what Ingo, I believe Ingo did. That was his work, was he wanted to know as well, and he had to explore. He studied the works of other people and then applied it and then talked about his own experiences, which is why I have so much respect for the man, because he spoke from his own experience and not just repeating other people's information. So the target for this session was a squash tournament in Cairo, Egypt. And basically you have a couple of people, either men or women, and they're in this glass box and they're hitting, you know, with these rackets and hitting a ball. It's a sport there. And what was coming through is I'm looking for basic imaging. I'm looking for shape form recognition in these sessions and trying to objectify them to the best of my ability, or as Inga would say, exactly as they're presenting themselves. And one of the interesting things was orientation. That was one interesting thing that I found after this session. Again, I'm blind to all these targets. I don't know what it is until after the session I go and look at feedback. But my orientation was off. I was getting this idea that this thing was going up as opposed to me being above it and looking down at it from that angle, which is not uncommon in these experiences to find yourself in a different orientation, because it's not like in that realm we're not dealing with gravity, so you could be on top of it, underneath it, or your perspective of this target could be from any angle. There is no gravity in this type of situation where we're normally looking straight this way, which again is fascinating. But that's what this session was about. I found it really interesting and a good experience for me as I'm exploring these things of basic imaging and shape form recognition. So I hope you find this interesting as well, and many more to come. 3, 7, 4, 5. Round, flat, dense. It's heavy. It's heavy. Round. Where's my round? Narrow, curved, inside, above, 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 above. Something feels that is something feels above. Flat. I'm getting like this is the kind of image something like that. Dense, smooth, curved, dry, narrow. I'm getting an AI here of tense, 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 high, above. I'm getting this memory comparison here of the top of a tall building. Memory comparison showing that also top of a mountain. I'm getting these comparisons. 3, 7, 4, 5. 3, 7, 4. 3, 7, 4, 5. Hollow. hollow, hollow. Okay, that's kind of something weird. Something like that. Up. Okay, this cramped. Cramped, feeling cramped. So I'm getting a lot of memory comparison to some older targets of rocket targets and shuttle, things like that. Some comparison stuff. Like some kind of, like a shaft or a tube. Getting other things like elevator. Elevator. Up. I'm getting some other, this is idea generation here, but lined up, lined up, like on a track. Glassy, smooth, moving through, dense and hollow, bright, slim, or like cramped, slim, cramped, on a track, moving. See, this is giving me more memory comparison here, like roller coaster and that kind of stuff. Reminds me of that, though. Reminds me of that. finished. Track. There's something here. Smooth. Line. Through the middle of something. Through the middle of something. And glassy. Smooth. Okay, this is exploring here basic imaging or quantum imaging, and so we'll see how that went.